Welcome to the Connected Leaders Academy virtual conference designed to reshape your vision of transformation. As we navigate the evolving business landscape, our speakers will unveil innovative strategies to manage and initiate change. Prepare to adapt, innovate, and lead, ensuring your role in this transformative era.
Working in Australia with a limited lunchtime, seven of us were at the table and we were using this short time complaining. I was being as vocal as any of them. At one point I said, "This is just a job, not a career." My heart awakened in that moment and it started my life on a new trajectory. Before we get into the story, the title of this message is The Power of Aligning Your Faith and Business. And here's why. Because for entrepreneurs who get it and do this work, they awaken to the real possibilities that for them, the power of aligning your faith and business unlocks all God's gifts in a business they love. We consistently see firsthand these primary outcomes from aligning your faith and business: better business results, peace and joy, and clarity in life direction. Together, these results lead to a fulfilling life of impact. These outcomes occur intentionally, not accidentally. Also, although financials are never guaranteed, significant financial benefits often occur as part of these outcomes. My journey started during college when I was offered a technical job on campus, and I quickly had to learn how to produce good business results. In my 5-decade business career, I used my engineering, process, and leadership experience to produce practical and, most importantly, useful systems, spanning the range from writing code to managing databases, technical sales, leading and managing teams. This included being the second in command for a tech startup company that hit number 10 on the Entrepreneur magazine Hot 100 Fastest Growing Companies in the U.S. Later, serving as the director of a computer consulting company, I helped sell a managed services contract to a client in Houston, then helped build the team to deliver it, so solidly that that contract was active for more than 15 years. Building that team was a proud achievement on my tech career. Earlier in my career, I was recruited by a government defense contractor to work in Australia and was paid a premium salary, hefty bonus, and great benefits. I was in Australia for more than 10 years. Toward the end of this time, a tax was added to one of our minor benefits. That's when the 7 of us were eating lunch and complaining. And out of my mouth came, "Well, we shouldn't complain. After all, this is just a job, not a career." As my brain heard what I had just said, I realized I received a verbal message from my heart and the Holy Spirit. I was created by God for something bigger, something much more impactful. This started me on a path to my unique calling. Within a few years, we chose to attend a Bible-based church. It was there at a funeral for the son of one of the members where I heard the message Jesus Christ had died to forgive my sins, and that by believing in him, I could have eternal life. I made the decision at that funeral. I began intentionally and committedly following Christ. I found a mentor who helped me grow spiritually. I volunteered at the church and chose to serve in a variety of ways. During the next 6 months, I became on fire for the Lord. I asked to be baptized. I shared my faith with everyone, including people at work. That's when I first encountered this prejudice against bringing your religion into work. Over the years, I rebelled against this prejudice, becoming a mentor, an author, and a business coach, expert on the power of aligning your faith and business. Today, I coach and teach on the subject. A significant step for me personally was hearing first about life coaching and then thinking, that could be very interesting. I'll go investigate it. I looked into it very seriously, but at the time I was disappointed by not finding coaching programs or materials that had a Christian perspective. Months later, I'm walking through our local half-price bookstore, and this book practically jumps off the shelf and grabs my attention. It was titled Christian Coaching by Gary Collins. Thoroughly absorbing that book launched my Christian coaching career and informed my early decisions. In 2011, while still a director in a computer consulting company, I began coaching my first paying client. I also began the intentional process of strengthening myself as a coach, taking courses to become a professional coach, and earning certifications at increasingly higher levels of coaching expertise over the next 10 years. I loved coaching. I was growing as a coach, and there were many times when I felt like God was smiling at me. I love watching clients as a new concept or a new idea takes hold of them, and I just can see the light bulb turn on. My 10 years of growth was also a decade of personal challenges. My wife and I had never had children, and she was becoming very distant. She was spending more and more time away with her siblings. In short, I couldn't save it. Our marriage was over. Our divorce was final. 2 weeks after that divorce, God opened a door for me, and I chose to step forward. I was offered the opportunity to go part-time at work. That's not easy as a director. Because of the divorce, it was also a financial stretch. I prayed about it, really felt God was leading me into this opportunity, and so I walked into it. On the personal front, 5 years later, after a lot of healing, more growth, and time with God, a special woman named Kayla came into my life. We both felt this was right, and so 4 months later, we married. Through Kayla, I now have 3 adult children and 4 teenage grandchildren. That's a whole new direction in my life. Through my years of coaching and based on my years in business, I developed systems and processes to help people experience the power of aligning your faith and business. I consistently see firsthand these primary outcomes: better business results, clarity in life direction, and peace and joy. Together, you put all these together, and that leads to a fulfilling life of impact. To help people achieve these results, I've created a coaching system, Kingdom Business Power, the power of aligning your faith and business. This system consists of 3 dimensions of a client's life. They are identity, community, and calling. The identity dimension focuses on who. It's who you are at a core level. It's who you were created to be. It also includes whose you are, because as Christians, the Bible tells us that we are children of God. Understanding that deeply gives you an unshakable confidence that carries you through tremendous difficulties. All Christians have some things that are common to their general identity. We are children of God. We're new creations. We're forgiven. We're accepted. We're chosen. We're made in God's image. We're knit together by God in the womb. There's probably a few dozen more. And we also have a unique identity because God lovingly created each one of us and gave to each one of us certain spiritual gifts. The second dimension, the community dimension, that focuses on where. Some people get a little confused about that, but it's where you exist in time as well as space. We are designed as humans to be interdependent with other people. This includes family, friends, church if you're part of a church, other groups, and the people where you work, whether you work physically or virtually. This is where teamwork comes in, which applies to more than just your job. It includes all the people around you. Have you thought about teamwork in your family? Have you thought about teamwork in your church? Are you supporting them, and are they supporting you? Many of us don't understand the importance of our community and our team. It was one of the greatest lessons I learned. The third dimension, the calling dimension, focuses on why. Why are you here? What's your purpose? What's your divine destiny? What's your kingdom purpose? Why did God create you in this place with the parents that he gave you, to the family around you at this time in history? Nothing God does is an accident. You were made with a purpose. As Christians, we all have a general calling. This consists of the Great Commandment: love God, love others as yourself, and the Great Commission: go and make disciples, baptizing them and teaching them. While that general calling applies to all Christians, you were created with certain gifts and talents that make you unique. Therefore, you also have a unique calling that is specifically yours, and it's different from other people. Your calling is your kingdom purpose. Figuring out what your unique calling is gives us a sense of direction, and it keeps us on track, and it helps us ignore the shiny objects that threaten to pull us off purpose. One of my coaching clients with a strong faith in God serves as a great example of the power of aligning faith and business. I met this lady on a cruise in 2019. She asked us to call her by her initials, SAM. Okay, she was Sam. Turns out Sam was overloaded and stressed at work and felt like God was telling her to do something else, but she didn't have a clue what it was. A lot of business owners reach that point at some point or another. Sam actually owned and was also publisher of a neighborhood magazine, and she had self-published 16 of her own books. Wow. I was impressed. Because she didn't know what to do, I suggested she go through a strengths assessment through a strengths assessment. This is part of that first part, the identity dimension, the first dimension of my system. It helps the client understand what are their top talents. It also reveals insights about their God-given identity, especially when you go through the coaching piece that I take them through. Sam took this assessment, and before we even started the process, she called me up and said, "Your test is broken." I asked her why she was saying that, and she says, "This says communications number 14. I'm a publisher with 16 books. Communication can't be 14. I told her to trust the process and would deal with it when we got there. As it turned out, Sam wasn't as much of a writer as she was a creator. 12 of her 16 books were journals, and she created the space and the prompts for other people to write. Turns out that communication talent was right where it was supposed to be. She was actually overusing a talent that was draining her, and that's one of the reasons why she was so stressed out. After we completed the strengths assessment process, Sam took the final steps to leave the magazine publishing. We coached on what had worked well for her in the past, what she knew about her talents now, why those worked so well together. Looking at the results, Sam decided to return to a previous role where she had had great results and she loved what she did, but she was going to be the boss this time. She opened up a virtual administration company. In 30 days, with no advertising, only referrals, she was fully booked herself and she was hiring additional workers. It was a special day when Sam said to me, quote, "I had been doing all the things that people told me that I should do. Dale, after taking your strengths process, I started doing the things that God created me to do. When I stopped swimming upstream, that's when the magic happened." End quote. Now, more than 5 years later, she leads a team of 16 people and has 35 clients nationwide. When you start at zero, this is certainly better business results. Part of Sam's success is how she treats her clients and her team. I've witnessed how she treats them fairly, with integrity and care. She lets them know that she's praying for them. Most of her team are Christian, but some are not, and she treats them the same. When she does have to let somebody go, and that happens in every business owner's life, she does it with dignity and respect and provides an honest reference of their capabilities if asked. Sam continues to coach with me. I've helped her with team dynamics, helping the team get along better, getting the job done better, hiring and firing team members, as well as sometimes clients, getting processes set up inside her business, and using assessments to place her team members in their best roles. Sam is also married a solid Christian man, and together they have moved to a small town closer to her children and grandchildren where they are both happier. Sam has improved her family, her team, and her overall community, the second dimension of the system. I've also helped Sam understand her unique calling, the third dimension of the system. We have spent a lot of coaching time unpacking the possibilities and outcomes of different potential steps. Currently, Sam is focused on reducing the amount of time she works inside her VA business so that she can focus on growing the business. In other words, working on the business instead of in the business. She is also pursuing another part of her unique calling, women who struggle with self-love and self-worth. Sam says that she has more peace and joy. She has greater clarity on what she's on this earth to do. These things together have kept her on track and kept her moving forward. Sam is a great example of the power of aligning your faith and business. She's making a significant impact in the world. Brian is another coaching client. Brian heard my episode on the Professional Christian Coaching Institute, PCCI, podcast, which he was listening to because he had already started taking coaching courses with them. By the way, PCCI is the school where I started my coach training more than 13 years ago. Brian is a nurse with the Veterans Administration, and Brian has a heart for teaching people to take care of themselves, their health, do it correctly, do it in their whole life, not just a part of their life. Brian was taking courses to become a formal health coach. Now, Brian is a young father of 4 kids under the age of 7. Can you say that he has a lot of energy? In addition to his wife, her mother lives with him as well, making it a total of 7 people in the household. As my client, Brian began with the identity dimension, including the strengths assessment, spiritual gifts assessment, and a core values assessment, plus a lot of coaching to integrate these into his life. We also tackled some of the parts of the community dimension, particularly looking at his relationships at church and at work. At work, a new role opened up a little bit after we started coaching, which had the title health coach, but was loosely defined. Brian wasn't even sure he wanted to apply, but we talked about it, and he decided to go for it. Using the work we did on identity, he applied, he was awarded the job. It improved his hours, his schedule, and his income. Yay! Through ongoing coaching, Brian helped the VA to more fully define health coach role while at the same time making it an ideal position for himself. Win-win. On the church front, Brian and his family were not fitting in well. They'd tried several churches over several years, but something always seemed off, either with the teaching or the relationships. Eventually, Brian moved his family back to a church that they had attended several years ago because it provided a better support system for his entire family and was actually closer to their house. Brian was pleasantly surprised that the people there welcomed the whole family back without any snide remarks or editorial comments. The whole family has now settled in, and Brian is working with the men in the church to build stronger relationships. In the calling dimension, Brian recognizes a lot of his unique calling, although we're still working on it, and how it's working out today. He hosts the Thriving Fatherhood podcast to minister to his client audience, and he is realistic enough to recognize that with his young family, His job at the VA provides a lot of benefits and stability that is needed at the moment. Brian is also part of my ongoing mastermind group for people that are part of the Kingdom Business Power system and want to have community with other like-minded Christians. He recently renewed his membership in the mastermind for another year, and he says, "I'm so glad to be with you in this group. It gives me a perspective I just don't get anywhere else." My client Dan's story is a little bit different. Dan is an author, storyteller, speaker, and writing coach. Dan already had 3 books to his credit, one of them a #1 international bestseller when I met him. We were co-authors in the book Next Level Your Life, which became a #1 international bestseller. Since then, Dan has published another book, which also became a #1 bestseller, and was co-author on yet another. Now, if you're counting, that's like 6 total books, with 4 of them being bestsellers. Dan first worked with me on his identity dimension, going through the strengths assessment, values assessment, spiritual gifts assessment. It was in this section that Dan identified himself as a storyteller. We've also done a lot of work on the calling dimension. Dan is settled on his unique calling, which Dan clearly sees as producing inspiring stories. Within my mastermind group, Dan and I continue to work on his community dimension, especially the support he wants around his part-time jobs. David was my first coaching client. David is a CPA. I first met David because I was volunteering in another program before I started coach training, and I was a spiritual mentor to him. David had recently been divorced, and he told me his 2 kids were having a hard time with that. David paid for their counseling and went to the same counselor. At one point after I started coach training, I was meeting with David to catch up. I remember his question like it was yesterday. "Dale, what's the difference between counseling and coaching?" I described it to David like this. Counseling deals more with hurt and the past and gets you from broken to neutral. Coaching deals more with hope in the future, and it gets you from neutral to great. After I told David this, he told me he wanted coaching. Just to wrap it up, David has graduated through all 3 dimensions of the Kingdom Business Power system. In one case, he was working through the dimension as I was developing. David serves as an ongoing participant and a major contributor in my mastermind. In my life, the journey to becoming a successful entrepreneur gave me a new appreciation of the power of aligning faith and business. I learned how keeping a joyful outlook while dealing with the stresses of being a business owner really relied on my alignment of faith and business. I witness in my business and in my clients' businesses how aligning faith and business delivers practical impacts that create success today and legacy later. We continue seeing the successes clients experience today, which include better business results, peace and joy, and clarity in life direction. If any of this sounds interesting to you, I welcome a chance to connect with you. You can reach me at my website, coachdale.com, email me at dale@coachdale, or find me on social media. I have a complimentary gift for anyone who connects with me. If I can leave you with a final thought today, remember, when our Christian calling and our business work together, that's the real power. When our Christian calling and our business work together, that's the real power. Thank you so much.
Thank you for participating in today's enlightening session. As we transition to our next expert, remember that each strategy and insight is a step toward becoming a transformative leader in your field. Visit connectedleadersacademy.com to stay engaged and informed. The journey of change is ongoing. Let's move forward together.